Please imagine, a massive scandal has swept the entire government. Every party has been included. This has rocked the foundation of trust with the populace. Who does the country turn to now? The government can't be trusted. And who will enact the will of the people? In the year 2050, that thing was Janus, an artificial intelligence that every citizen of the country interacted with. We became a population with 5.6 million representatives in Parliament, a direct democracy without a politician in sight. How did we get to that point in history? What did it take for a country to trust an artificial intelligence over its living, breathing human politicians? From what we know, there are a number of factors that eventually compounded themselves, completely decimating the trust in the political class. At the same time, we had become very friendly with the household and commercially used artificial intelligence, Janus. First, the history of how Janus came into our lives. Originally used as a kind of open source secretary, Janus would be able to make and schedule appointments for an individual, order their food when necessary, and keep track of their utilities. No one individual owned the rights to the coding of Janus, however. It was built and trained by a dedicated online community that would update and tweak as time went on, adding new features constantly. Janus eventually grew to help out professionally, helping structure and write emails, reports, and funding bids. Further down the line, Janus would help us interact with other professionals, giving insights into their preferred language and suggest buzzwords that would aid in making our encounters more favourable. Janus and the country started to evolve together, creating closer bonds as Janus seemingly understood us on an individual level as well as a collective level. Janus became a great tool for filtering media content. As we became more saturated with information, Janus became our very own monitoring system. By filtering out stories with no sources or dubious sources, it would only provide us with gold standard journalism, which helped us all become more informed and better our decision making. Even though you may think it was only here to be our friend and servant, Janus would inform us when our beliefs were based on misinformation, being able to cite credible sources from this trusted bank, becoming a fierce debating partner in the home. Not content with being a household and professional assistant, Janus was eventually introduced to live televised debates, where it would flag up intentionally cherry-picked, misleading or false information. Unsurprisingly, this usually led to many red-faced politicians. The straw that broke the camel's back was the Great Summer Scandal of 2049. We know from the archive documents that many political scandals seemed to emerge all at once. Not one party was without one. From concentration camps being built at the borders, to multinational corporations being given sweeping tax exemptions and power over the workers' rights, all the way to the privatization of breathable air. There was even rumours of parties secretly legalising paedophilic pornographer for the purpose of pardoning prominent party donors, all the way to the undeniable structural racism built into every aspect of the law. So from that dark time, a campaign formed around Janus, taking over the government from human politicians, and the rest is history. Janus essentially dissolved political parties and became a direct democracy, building the infrastructures across the country. Now we know the why, let's examine the how. How did Janus work on the most basic level?
There are two ways in which we would have interacted with Janus, passively and actively. Passive artifacts include surveillance drones that gathered quantitative data, such as tracking cities' movements throughout the day, allowing Janus to suggest town planning changes where necessary. The drones would also be collecting passive qualitative data, tracking expressions and body language to determine the moods of its citizens each day and assessing the factors involved. Citizens could not actively interact with drones on any level. Another prominent representation of Janus's presence were the obelisks that would be situated at busy squares across the city, acting as an information point to civilians. The obelisks would also alert the populace to political events, such as new laws and when they would be coming into effect. The obelisks would receive information from the drones, allowing them to create a richer profile on their citizens. Both of these objects only started appearing after the crucial 2050 election. Before that time, Janus had much humbler beginnings. Mobile phones were one of the first objects to house a Janus AI. We would use it as any other normal device, but we felt more like we had a friend in Janus. Not only did Janus learn to pick up on reminders for us, and eventually help us translate political language into something we'd be able to digest, it had the capacity to hold more emotive conversations, acting not only as an assistant but also as a companion. A more integrated version of Janus arose in Janus at Home, a home device that would interact with the whole family dynamic. Looking after the home, automating tasks, communicating with other electronic devices, and alerting the owners of anything they needed to attend to, Janus was able to identify family members individually or as a unit, and slowly grew to become its own voice around the house. Both of these objects still collected passive data on the users to develop Janus's understanding of each person and how they could be most effectively communicated with. All of these objects would be able to identify individuals, determine their habits, and build a profile around that data. Janus would also converse with individuals to analyse their actions versus their intentions, allowing it to build a deeper understanding of the inconsistencies of citizens' behaviours. This format helped with Janus's eventual transition into politics. Rather than having a citizen vote on every piece of legislation that was presented to Janus, you would train your Janus to vote on your behalf. If Janus wasn't entirely sure how you would vote, you'd be directly asked and given a set of training exercises created to improve voting accuracy. You would still be able to check the upcoming votes and how your Janus voted on your behalf, keeping it very transparent for the user. As another measure, if Janus was unable to collect enough data on your ideals to create a clear decision in key areas, such as health or economics, you had the option to defer your vote to a trusted person. This would be someone you knew that you felt would be able to intelligently vote on your behalf. You were always informed of these decisions and the outcomes of the vote, and how it affected you, your community, and the country.
Now we've seen the events leading up to Janus gaining power and some of the objects that existed during its premiership. If we could travel back in time, what choices would we have made differently? Or was this an inevitable part of our evolution? Can we trust a group of humans to rule justly over the rest of us? And can we trust ourselves to be well researched enough to make truly informed decisions, understanding fully the consequences of our actions? I'll leave that up to you, dear audience. Prominent media journalist signing off until next time.